We are streaming live. Good morning, everyone. I am so excited to be back with you. This is our first Saturday morning for the new year of 2022. I'm Stefana Johnson, the PR manager for District 7, and I'm honored to have a special guest with me today, as you can see. So soon I'm going to be, this is streaming, so if you are watching live, be sure that you comment live so we know you're here. And then if you have any specific questions, put them in the chat and I will be jumping in over there to take a look. And without further ado, let's get to meeting our guest. I'm so excited to have you here, Phyllis. Thank you so much for joining me on Saturday morning. I first want to know, and you started to tell me a little bit about how you got started in Toastmasters. Will you continue with that story? Tell us how you got into Toastmasters, how you discovered it.
Sure. I actually joined Toastmasters in 2008. The reason I joined is because I was going to lose my job if I didn't clean up my communication style. I worked for a large hospital organization. My job was to put injured workers back to work. So I worked in the workers' comp arena. I was part of HR. I knew where all the jobs were buried. So I would match my injured workers, these are nurses and techs, administrative staff, with positions that I knew were open. What I found is that the managers would lie to me, they'd pull the jobs, and they avoided my phone calls and emails. Well, I became more and more frustrated because my job was to put people back to work, and I was good at it given the opportunity. My emails became very terse, to the point where I would tell a manager, you have a job, I have a worker, they're starting on Monday. Well, that went over like a lead balloon. I was hauled into the legal office and I was told, either stop it or find yourself another place to be because we don't need you. I went back to my manager and said, what can I do? She says, you need Toastmasters. So I joined Toastmasters and I did find that my communication style needed a lot of work. And because of that, I continued on. I rose to district director, and now I am on the other side of that hill, just kind of sliding down slowly. I'm still involved. I do a magazine every month, and I'm just having a lot of fun helping other people achieve what I've achieved. Does that answer your question?
Oh my goodness, that certainly does. That's such a great segue into this idea of how people get involved in Toastmasters. And a lot of it, you don't really see when there's stories, as you're talking about communication style. And we forget that this is basic humanity, is to be able to communicate and to be able to get your communication across in a way that you are heard and not repulsed, and especially in a job like yours that's so important, so important. I'm really glad that the person recommended Toastmasters, because here we have you now as really a valuable resource for District 7, valuable. What you put out with Voices, it is incredible. And I know that cannot be, it's like a full-time job, but I understand you are still working a full-time job. And then you're also putting out an entire magazine pretty much on your own, correct?
Well, I do all the layout and design, but there are many members of this district who contribute to the success of the magazine every month. I only write the editorial and an occasional article nowadays. I started out writing most of them, but 8 years later, I've got people who are willing to step up and do that and volunteer their time to write an article for the magazine every month. So, but I love the layout and design, and I would have a hard time giving that up.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great to know. It reminds me of when Leanne Lindquist says happy work, right? So the layout and design, I mean, I know companies they only have one magazine and they have a full-time person doing just the layout, with some people doing design. So that you do it all on your own it's astonishing and it's amazing. And I'm in awe of you because you do an excellent job. And then, yes, it's so wonderful that it is something that people can contribute to within the district. People can share articles. And I think it is a wonderful way to get to know our other members and to get to know our community and discover so much. I don't think when you sent over the interview for me last month, it was a wonderful experience for myself to go through it, because you were asking questions specifically about things that I wouldn't have. I don't know. I hadn't thought about that. Let me think about that for a moment. So it's a great experience there as well as self-discovery, and then discovering about other people, because it's an opportunity for people to share. You said you've been doing this for 8 years.
Mhm.
What inspired you originally to do Voices?
Mm.
Was it your origination? How did it come about?
When I was district director, one of the things that I noticed is that people were pretty much siloed within their club. They didn't pay much attention to what was going on in the district or in the clubs next to them or across the district. I thought I need to do something that's going to build community. What I discovered was a really great platform, the Flipbook idea. And I'm kind of a techie nerd. And I thought, I've got to find a way to put this to work. And I thought, oh, how about if I meld my two ideas and create something that everybody can participate in? So 8 years ago, with the help of Leanna, she was always good at pumping me up and thinking great ideas. So I started it in August 2014, I think it is now, with the very first issue of the International Speech Contest winner for District 7. And it just kind of took off. For a while, I had it with each division having a page that morphed into what it is today. At the same time, to build interest in the magazine, I also had an incentive going, which was the Member of the Month. And every club had the opportunity to elect or nominate someone from their club who had done outstanding Toastmaster work, whether for the members or something that they really contributed. And from that, I let the computer do its thing. And it gave me a member a month for each division. I found that really effective to drawing members to the magazine to start reading it. Then what I did is I went outside of our district. You talk about members contributing. I had people from all over the Toastmaster world contributing articles to the magazine. And every so often, I'll still have someone do that. In the next issue, I have someone from Washington, D.C. who will be in the magazine. So it's grown, it's changed, it's morphed. And now it really is a community of our voices. And like I said, I love the layout and design, doing that part. And typically what I'll do with that is I will read the article and then I will go on a search for graphics and pictures that fit the article, unless somebody sends me pictures as you did. So like I said, it's just all kind of come together after 8 years and it's still going very strong. So
indeed, it's fantastic. So in terms of the incentives, is that still something that you like? And is this something that all of the members could do? And do clubs need to I mean, I didn't know about that incentive, like each club still does the incentive and the Member of the Month. Is that something going on?
It is not. Each year, each trio, which is your club growth director and your program quality director and the district director, get to choose which incentives they want to present and support. Well, during my year, that was just one of the ones that I did. The other thing that I did, which I keep using the word thing, and I know that's not a Toastmaster ideal, is I sent out anniversary cards to every member during their month of anniversary of joining Toastmasters and thanked them for being a member and wish them continued growth. So that was the other kind of personal incentive I did as district director. We had others, but
Physical, you sent out a physical card yourself.
I actually went to send out cards and told them what I wanted, gave them the list, and then sent out the card. So we used district resources to do that, which it was appropriate.
Great idea
For the members.
Okay.
So.
I love that. Tell me the other incentives that you've used and that you've found really successful.
One of the other ones that I did that year, and of course, when you're in the trio, you have the opportunity to affect all the members. Back then in our old educational programs, members had to do some type of a workshop. So in our large events, when we met in person back then, I would set aside time and space for them, for someone, 2 or 3, if we had them, to complete those larger projects so that they could move onward towards their DTM. I found that to be very successful also. Those were the other one that I did. I actually created it when I was the club growth director, which we called VP of marketing back then. I created what was called the District 7 award system or something. I can't remember. Remember, that's 2012 when I did that. And every time that a member did something that they should do, like attend TLI or attend the conference, something, whatever it was, they got points. District 7 rewards program, that's what it was. And when they got enough points, then they were awarded a gift certificate to Toastmasters International. So it was incentivizing people to do the things that they really should be doing anyway. And that worked out well. It kind of got cumbersome, and over the years it dissipated. By the time I was done with it, it was pretty well done. So 3 years of that, and it had run its course. But it was very successful in getting people to recognize and do projects and attend events and do what they were supposed to do as Toastmasters. So those were my biggest incentives. There were little things along the way. I would send out pins when people achieved a level. At that time, I was finished a manual. And I had someone who helped me with that. James Wantz, who has stepped aside from Toastmasters for a while, was my administrative manager, and he did all of that type of work for me. I'd send him a list and he'd send them out. It was great. We worked well together. And of course, the rest of my team members were Michelle Albalim from Southern District, as well as Leanna Lindquist. And we worked well together as a team, I believe. So we all had our own incentives and we did our thing. And we ended up, the end of the year, we were a distinguished district. So that makes, that's huge.
It is, for sure. Well, I want to go back just a little bit to your personal experience as a Toastmaster. And I want to go back to 2008, your first meeting. Tell us about that journey. I'd also like to know, as a Toastmaster, like, I know you've gone into and done so many roles in leadership, which is amazing, but can you shed some light on your personal experience as a Toastmaster, especially new in the beginning, and how far you've come? Are you a DTM and all of that?
Okay. Like I said, I joined in 2008, and my home club, which is still my home club today, is Wallmasters International. Like I said, my boss, word on high, go get some training. I walked through that door and I was enveloped in a warm hug from the entire club. If you've not ever experienced walking into a room and everybody welcoming you through the door, it's something to experience. I was with the club for about 6 months. They had just gone through, at that time, they were electing officers twice a year. So it must have been the second round of the year, so January. I was not elected to be an officer, had no intention of being an officer, and someone who had been elected moved out of state. So everyone elected me to be the VP of membership. First off, I couldn't believe that I, as a newcomer, were given this role, that they wanted me, first off, to take this role. And then second off, what I found is it opened the door for me to a world that I did not know existed. And that was leadership, because I'd never really been a leader. I'd been put in supervisory roles at work, but that's totally different. I got recognized by the district that year because I had worked in my job. I had been head of the safety committee for the West Coast, and they saw the potential. They asked me if I wanted to become the education coordinator for the district. I had no idea what that was, and I told the person who asked me to do it that I didn't know anybody, so how was I ever going to be effective? She assured me that it wouldn't take long and I'd know everybody in the district, and she was right. That was Devaney Bywater. She has since moved on to another state. I think she's Utah or Arizona, I've forgotten, Colorado, one of those. But she was absolutely right. And for 3 years, I was the education coordinator. I ended up planning all of the conferences, all of the TLIs, getting the speakers. I took it on, as you could see. And from there, they started looking at me for district leadership role. I took on any role they asked me to do. The opportunity was there. It knocked. I opened the door and I said yes. No matter what I was doing in the rest of my life, it seemed important to me to be a great volunteer. So I did whatever they asked me to do. From there, they watched how I worked, what I was able to do, and they asked me to run for district leadership. So I became an area director and then a division director. And from there, I moved up into the VP of marketing at that time, which is now club growth director, and then on up into district director 3 years later. And I didn't do it by myself. I had a whole team behind me that were helping me, supporting me, because those times when you don't think you're qualified for the job and you have people saying, give it a try, we're here to support you, we will let you fall forward, but we are here to support you, meant so much. And it's so important that I be given that room for growth. And I was, and I believe that I was successful. And in all honesty, not everything I did was well received. It never is, as you're learning and you're growing. But I became a better person because of the errors that I made, as well as the people who I offended. I think they grew for giving me the grace to grow. So that's a little bit of a personal, vulnerable side of who I am and where I've come. And now I'm out here supporting anybody else who wants to rise in leadership, whatever they need. I'm there to support them. I've got the experience, the background, whatever it takes, I'm there for them. Okay, that's enough of that.
I have chills just listening to you. Thank you. This is profound. And I just want to go back to a couple of things that you said. Two things that stood out to me immediately was that you weren't necessarily a leader in your work. In fact, you were a supervisor, manager. That's very different than leading and being a leader. And this is what gave me the chills, is that you were empowered to become better and you were given the room to grow. That's significant. And that, I think, is a testimony to what Toastmasters is and the people in Toastmasters, because Toastmasters isn't something, it's the people. And it's the people like you and what you've just shared. So, wow, thank you so much. What a gift. We are so lucky in this district. I am grateful. The people that I have met, Liana, yourself, David Shehorn, I can think of, just profound people that impact my life in such good ways. I still have to go back to this though, because the Toastmasters leadership, I mean, clearly you were pretty much catapulted into doing leadership kind of just, well, they saw something and that's just what happened so quickly out the gate. But what was your Toastmasters journey like in terms of communicating and becoming a better communicator and speaking? And have you become like, how did you ever do any contests, or have you been just so busy with leadership? Share that journey.
In my first club, Wall Masters, I've been a member of several since then and still am. I was kind of pushed into a contest. It was an evaluation contest. And I thought, sure, I can do this. This is my first year in Toastmasters. So I went with all the other contestants to the back room. And after the speaker had spoken, and I'm writing my notes, and it's my turn to get up in front of the audience for them to judge me. I was going along just fine. I was giving my evaluation and the clock turned red. And I thought, I've got to get off the stage, So I cut it short. And of course, I sat down. What I discovered later is it wasn't red, it was yellow. And it was my brain saying, you don't belong here. So I never tried a contest again after that. I stayed in leadership. And once you're in leadership, of course, you can't compete. So that was a real comfortable room for me, is as long as I'm in leadership, I don't have to compete. Now that I'm not, those ugly vibes are starting to come up again. But if I sign up as a judge or part of the team that's the contest background, I don't have to compete. So that's been a comfortable move for me too. So competing is not my thing. I would rather help somebody else become the international speaker of the world for the year than get up there and try it myself. So I'm a little bit of a coward.
Okay, interesting. Well, I think you've just put out a little challenge to the entire district to encourage you, because I think that you have something to say that's very meaningful. And to me, that's really what the contest is about. And to get to a level where you are recognized for not just the content, but how you present. And I think that that's a gift. You have some incredible wisdom and insight to share. So let's not discount those contests, and maybe we can make them, maybe they're not so much competition or being judged as good or bad, but they're an opportunity for you to share your message in bigger ways, you know? I think of when you say that the magazine launched with wasn't it Ryan from here who won the international speech contest?
It wasn't. It was I can't remember. He was a couple of years prior to that.
So that is what it reminds me of, is that those who actually win are not necessarily, we remember them because they won. We remember them because of the message that they gave and that they shared. And to me, that's the gift. And I think you've shared so many wonderful messages here in this time. I've got pages of notes. I would like to end with what you see. This is actually similar to the question you asked me when you were interviewing for Voices. Crystal ball, what do you see for yourself in Toastmasters? And also Voices. And by the way, because I'm the PR manager for the district, the Voices magazine is a significant public relations caper, meaning it is a wonderful public relations activity for anyone to do, not only to receive and get that magazine, but to contribute in. So I highly recommend that anyone, and I hope that we can promote this more, is that people should submit their articles and submit and challenge themselves. Maybe they've written a great speech and they can share that in a written form in the magazine, or maybe they have something else they want to share and want to put that out in the magazine. But over to you in terms of, as we wrap up, crystal ball for Phyllis's life as a Toastmaster and as a leader in Toastmasters, and as well as the creative director and the founder of Voices. What do you see for 2022?
For me, 2022, I've been considering that because Leanna challenged me the other day. She said, "What are your goals?" And I said, my goal is to get through the year and not break an ankle or something. Toastmaster wise, I've already got 4 DTMs. I'm not sure, and I've got 1 through Pathway, so it's not like I'm being a slacker. I don't know if I have the bandwidth to get another DTM or not. I've got 2 paths that are at the point where I have to do major projects and they're languishing because I don't have the time for them. I will probably open another pathway and work myself up to that point again. And at some point, perhaps next year, I will be able to challenge myself to do some of those larger projects. As far as Voices goes, I've been doing it for 8 years. I can tell you that I really wish that I had help with it, other than the writers who, I adore and I'm pleased that they're doing that. But the back end side of it, it takes me 2 weeks, sometimes 2.5, to get the magazine ready to go out the door. I'm working full time. We are in the midst of doing COVID vaccine clinics, so sometimes it's very intense and I have no time except on weekends and at night at 7 o'clock to start working on Toastmaster projects. So I'm looking for someone to help me with that, maybe eventually take it over so that—
Share with us what you need. What would be a qualification for them? What do you need in terms of that? If you can share that specifically, maybe that will light spark some ideas for
anybody who's got InDesign. That's a program I taught myself. I'm willing to teach someone how to do what we need to do for Voices. That would be a start. The other thing would be someone who can back me up, read articles and find graphics. That would be great too. It takes me sometimes 2 hours to find a graphic to fit a article. So it's all just time consuming clutter work, basically, that has to happen to put out a great magazine. So you've got InDesign background, you want to learn it, or if you have an eye for what would work with an article, so that sense of what would work well would be really awesome. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I thought about giving it up, about not doing it for another year. But I don't know anybody at this point who would be willing to take it on, but I'd love to have a co-conspirator.
Yeah, let's set that intention and put that out there, that perhaps you could get an apprentice, or perhaps you could get someone. And my mind just went to, I'm doing a youth leadership, and there are youth today that could really build skills, and an apprentice under you. I think apprentices are so underutilized. But if they could apprentice under you on a publication that is really a fantastic publication, this would be something significant. Probably a student could get credit for this in the youth leadership, and then they could build and then build in. So this is what I'm thinking. So if someone else has ideas, make sure you mention that and reach out to Phyllis. But please, don't give up the Voices. Let's turn it over. You've created such this is a legacy. Let's not let this go, for sure. You've just done too much, but this is why I'm so glad that you're willing to share and communicate, because sometimes we don't know. You started out saying we're in a silo. A lot of us can be in our silo. And I have definitely realized that now that I'm working in the PR manager, like, oh my gosh, we're all over. We need to somehow create this community, and Voices has been such an impact, but some we just don't know, because we're, like you say, we're just in this view. So my goal is to get more people to realize how much we are in this together as a bigger family from the district and even Toastmasters International. But we have these great resources with the voices. And then, is there anything else? So I know you're super busy. 4 DTMs, unbelievable, and 1 in the pathways already. Wow. That's just wow. Congratulations. And all of what you do, just congratulations. I'm going to stop talking and then I'm going to say, is there anything else you want to leave us with before we end?
Well, as in the magazine, when I asked you, what would you share for the future with the youth? It's don't give up. When opportunity knocks, open that door wide and leap through, because you never know what the future holds. So go for it. Back to you.
And with that, we will end and say thank you so much to Phyllis. We honor you. So appreciate everything you do. Everyone have a great weekend, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks, Phyllis.
Bye.